Nave saying about testing the map pool of obviously their opponents in Weibo, and that might be the case for Lair. In the APAC region, you just don't really see it at all. Like, it pretty much, I think it got picked maybe at 2-3 times throughout the entire stage, 3 sub-regions. I don't even know how many games would have been actually eligible to be played, but you basically never saw it, right? So they might have looked at that and saw a sign of weakness and said, okay, well, they don't really play Lair. The region doesn't really play Lair. Let's take them there. The clubhouse also quite interesting, but I think for Weibo, when you kind of consider where this is a roster that has evolved and grown, they're not to be considered the old APAC days, the old Asia days where it's all about the gunning and the fragging and running in like headless chickens. They have got good structure as well. It'll be put to the test here.
So you're both going in way of Weibo?
Oh, just.
If I had to pick,
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1.
Like 2-1, last map is like 8-7, like that kind of close.
Okay, we're in for a treat, judging by what you gentlemen have said. I want everybody in the chat, let us know your predictions. Let us know who you think is going to walk away victorious in this best of 3, because it's about to go down.
Yeah, big game. Win, you go through to the playoffs. Lose, and you are out of the Esports World Cup. For Weibo Gaming, so far, it's been a mixed bag of an event, guys, where obviously they were very competitive against Shopify Rebellion. And in some ways, I guess you could kind of use that to look at this match against DarkZero. Similarities, North American teams. But they absolutely decimated Gen.G yesterday. Swift 2-0. They were far better. There was no real contest. And in that series, didn't even have Reaps fully fit and firing. You didn't even get like 20 bomb Reaps. So there's more strength to come for Weibo. As for DarkZero, I mean, we can't forget, they beat FaZe Clan yesterday.
Yep.
And obviously hard to really judge where that's at because FaZe only then went on to beat Fear X, and now they've got G2 today, so that'll give us a bit more of a clearer picture. The problem is, you beat FaZe Clan, then you get 7-1 by Virtus.pro. So it's a complete flip there, the yin and the yang when it comes to DarkZero. Which DZ are we going to get today? And I think that's going to probably boil this matchup down a lot, is which DZ shows up? Is it the really good DZ? If so, then I'd say they're favorites. If it's not, then Weibo can take this.
So the opening operator ban phase, though, for this Clash on Club. Well, Clash is still available. That's probably not the best choice of words. It is the Kaid and Hibana taken out, so indicative that we may see a focus on both Hard Breach and Hard Breach Denial, which is very typical on this map. Hibana is incredibly powerful, especially for the basement site, and Kaid, while typically would have been used there if available, and assuming it will be mirrored here for the second selection, as we just drag it out a little while longer.
That's probably the longest ban I've seen since the new ban system.
And yeah, ban today, so very, very typical here for Club, and nothing standing out as being too crazy to kick things off. I guess most notably, it does leave the Monty available, and Weibo will sometimes play that. It'd be more of a talking point in the second half when DZ are on attack with Spirits.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but say that there's that hint of bias. It's absolutely there, and it's not to not give credit to DarkZero at all. I think DZ, as I said, without bias, favorites in this one, but it's still close. Like, you're not going to be sitting back and saying, nah, DZ should win this 2-0. Weibo are a very, very good team. They are also a team in terms of adding context that since it's been put together, the old Bleed roster, a couple of members from the old Elevate roster, it's taken them some time to gel, but gel they have over the last couple of months. Meepy, their coach, doing a lot. You've got Mentalist as an analyst, both here. And ever since the start of the group stage for the Asia League, part of the APL, they started slow, but they've been building, and it feels like this could be the culmination where if they bring their absolute best and what they've been building to knock off a team like DarkZero, it would be absolutely massive. But for me, DZ definitely the favorites here and should be very much thinking they can beat out Weibo.
So the mirror in play being used on the exterior kennels wall currently by DZ. They also have the Clash as well available, and that can be quite adaptable in terms of where that will be positioned. Can be used to most typically aid top red, but can also fall back to cash depending on the hit if it ends up ending up too big a default execute. Just the singular dedicated hard breach on the board here for the attack. Only the Mav and the Thermite available, and it will be the latter for this particular opening round. Lurk Threat as well, also on the board, so we'll keep a keen eye on Turd through the mid-round on the Nook. He may be able to try and find a pick. But I'm very intrigued to see what kind of playstyle Weibo look to employ here against DZ, considering that that aggression was tamed so well against FaZe earlier yesterday.
There's a con side clear right now for Weibo Gaming. Red ping intel, but it's only the clash. Not really going to gain a lot from that. Obviously, rafters hold. You've got the smoke, you've got the clash, a lot of delay, 90 seconds on the clock. Yes, it's still a 5v5, but Weibo probably need to pick up this tempo. Where's it going to come from? Feels like the Nook right now isn't really going to do a lot unless it can catch someone like Nave, still playing on that first floor. Weibo really want to bring aggression to rounds. They want to be in your face, but it's hard to do that sometimes on Clubhouse, and even more so on something like Cash and CCTV when you've still got that clash there. A minute left, guys, and I don't know how much information they've got on Nave over towards the basement now. Turd does find a kill, by the way, onto Pambazoo, and he has also taken Rafters control quite large, and Spirits will fall on the Azami. The plank going down inside of CCTV. Well, it feels like all of a sudden they were just able to waltz in. Like an avenue of the defense was left vulnerable, and Weibo are able to then exploit it as quick as they possibly could. DarkZero didn't realize what hit them. Here comes Nate, though, on that flank from out of basement through Garage now. But it's a 2v3, and only 30 seconds left.
It'll be really difficult for DZ to now get inside of this tuck to be able to get on for the counter defuse. 20 seconds, but Speakeasy falls. So it is a 2 versus 2, and maybe the tuck will be favorable here for the defense.
Ape also very, very low, and Nafe will look to stick this plant. Does get off of it. Oh, team kill, but NJR does more than enough. He gets an ace technically, as he did take out one of his teammates. It's a quad for NJR. We highlighted him on the desk to start for a reason. And Kangaroo Kenny wondering, what are you guys doing? How do you lose that one? Literally, how?
I think that came through our mics. That was so bloody loud.
Oh, I love Kenny.
In fact, he's getting a talking to just to chill out a little bit.
No.
I don't know how he hasn't lost his voice. That was... And I had to look over at Speakeasy, who just sat there kind of smiling at him.
Well, it was a round of 2 halves, wasn't it, right? Where it was, well, it almost felt like a round of 3-4 halves. So slow to begin for Weibo. Yes, they wanted to be systematic. And obviously the Nook ended up working. A good pinch from Turd, cleared out Rafters. They got the plant down into CCTV. But when all of that happened, it didn't really feel as if Weibo were set up for that. It just kind of happened very quickly, and DZ were not quick enough to react, but they were good enough to win the post play.
I mean, if this goes to 3, I don't know how Kangaroo's going to keep his voice in check. That was genuinely insane. But I don't really blame him for getting hyped up there. Opening round, good retake, minimal time on the clock, and able to execute it in the end.
Don't forget, Weibo are the kings of trash talking when it comes to the APL region.
Match fire with fire, you may as well. Back in that Gen.G game, Weibo were very vocal, both in all chat and physically with their body language. So if DZ can get on top of them in that regard as well, that may well just make them a little bit uncomfortable.
Double shield set up, Turd and Speakeasy, playing the Blackbeard and the Blitz respectively. Well, so far, I mean, obviously for DarkZero, they take the opening round. That in itself is a win, quite literally. But it's not as if Weibo will be too disappointed. The fact they got the plant down, they were competitive. Arguably, maybe you could consider should have won it. There's no room, though, for could've, should'ves, and would'ves. We go over to Gym Bedroom for the second round. And NJR again on the clash. Now, I wonder if the thinking here is, let's avoid basement for as long as possible. We want to bring the clash to the top sites, play through those first. We're expecting then the clash to get banned out. Here comes that swift entry through the breach, coming out of that CC wall. Ape will go left, Shields will go right. Clash force back in towards Con. Have they cleared close right though? Spirits, no. Shotgun is strong. Hoven can't find a long angle. Now they will put the pressure though into Cash by opening up this reinforced wall. Citizen gets rid of Reaps. Quiet start from the King of Asia. Hoven finds the double though, as DarkZero wanted to keep the pressure on to the attacking team. They sent more reinforcements over to Cash.
DarkZero are the kind of team who have the mentality of looking to compound advantages, but on this particular occasion, it has proved costly. Weibo now at the midpoint of the round with control and able to slow down the tempo momentarily. And they have the tools available now to cook up a final execute.
It's become very common, hasn't it, where teams will go fast. Whatever happens, then the plan B is executed going into the final minute. So it's a 3v3, we sit, we reset, we go for a new attack plan. Unnecessary damage onto NJR, courtesy of the pistol from Speak Easy. Nave has also been taken down. Turd now into Logistic. Needs to be a bit more aggressive on the Blackbeard, of course. Keep that gun up. Now Citizen in a 1v2 against both shields. Probably doesn't have the time or the space to go for that res onto Nave. He knows he's being cornered. There comes the blitz with the flash and the pistol. That's the kill to follow. And that gets Weibo now speaking, standing, and pointing at Kangaroo Kenny. And Kenny just gave them a little pat, okay, calm down, calm down. 1-1, and they both had a chance to shout.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a good jest, I'm sure. Maybe that was the series progresses. It may well get a little bit more personal between these two.
If this goes map 3 and we're talking about tight, tense rounds, it's going to get really spicy here.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
No, 1-1 is probably about right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about this setup. Day 2, they're already facing one another.
We don't have like the other two booths full of other teams screaming at random times. It's personal.
Do or die here. Day 2, EWC 25. And it's basement 4, round number 3.
Should add, by the way, there is a man just behind us. He's got a shirt that says crowd control. I wonder if they've employed him just for Kangaroo Kenny.
Have to drag him off the stage.
So NJR 4 kills. Turd impact in that round. Hoven though has got 6.
And it was a big 2K in the
and
last
Reaps yet to get on the board. So somewhat a little bit, you know, we've kind of been touching on this and it's kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah.
But that's not good news for Weibo. Even though Hoven is obviously providing that firepower in the opening 2 rounds, and we know Turd has been able to do that so far at EWC, they really do need Reaps firing if they're going to take down DZ. Don't forget as well, this is Weibo's map pick. Only attacking round though, really, really solid for them.
So the Deimos is in play, but gets caught. In the meantime, Reaps did find his first kill of the match. That was on to Citizen, and the pacing, it continues to be fast. Here he comes. Weibo with the advantage. Do they look to compound, or do they look to slow down? I think it will be the latter. Gain info in sight, good drone from Speak Easy.
Well, there's no real pressure from DZ outside of Spirits now. He's gone up secret, now top red. So he's going to offer a counterpoint of difference for DZ on the defense, where he's going to maybe try and rotate in, maybe come down main stairs, provide something different rather than a 3-stack on site. He's in con right now. So he will be one to watch. So there's only 2 players on site. But 2 players that can delay. Keeper Barriers, the Gas Babes from NJR. So I like this, because if Spirits gets... He could potentially get 2 kills off of this flank. They might not be ready for this, Weibo.
But he just has to time it correctly. If Weibo flood and flush out the defense, Spirits will be left in a pretty unwinnable position. Yellow ping above as well. So Spirits' position known.
Well, does Spirits know that his position is known? Logic Bomb as well activated with that intel. Weibo, no. Yes, there's a minute left, but there's only 2 players on the site itself. Maybe let's go hit. Indeed they do. Don't worry about that, Gas Babe. You're a Blackbeard, you can push forward, but no, you're shut down. Legged. And so far defended very nicely on the site from DarkZero. Turd now towards bot main with Reaps, but he gets shut down. NJR has got 5 now. And he will clean up the round, and DarkZero go 2-1 up. And while Spirits, who went for the flank, wasn't in the end the main perpetrator in the round win for DarkZero, it was actually the 2 that stayed on site. Weibo thought they could hit the site with a 4-on-2. Didn't work out.
I wonder if Speak Easy would have taken a different approach had he had that same situation, trying to close the gap over towards AK. Proved to probably not be the most optimal play. Did get spaced out, though, by a really well-placed smoke canister, and it just made his life really difficult. And I don't think the rest of the team was really in position at that particular point in time to then play off Speak Easy's push. They couldn't trade out that position. They got stranded. They got isolated. DarkZero and their anchor play so far has been really, really strong.
Certainly not a lot of shouting at the end of that particular round, which maybe it could have been warranted for DarkZero, but Kenny did, of course, get told to just settle a little bit, so maybe he has. Not one, though, Kenny, to sometimes play by the rules opposed upon him. So we go to Cash and CCTV. Bans, by the way. Clash, no surprise. NJR was playing that quite heavily. The Blackbeard, not too much of a surprise, but it does leave Blitz Monty still available for Weibo coming into this half. Back and forth in nature. NJR fragging out. Again, the conclusion of the opening day, he was a top 10 rated player across all matches, all games, all teams. NJR was incredible yesterday. Just feels like DZ's got such a complete roster. But are they at the very best of that roster? Maybe not just yet. But I think their goal will be gaining a lot of experience here at EWC, going back into NAL Stage 2, probably look to actually win NAL this time rather than just make the grand final. Then Majors and SIs, and maybe by the time we do get to the 6th Invitational, this DarkZero roster will be at their very best. And you can see a lot of signs of this team being a really, really good team. Yesterday, beating out FaZe Clan as comprehensively as they did. 2-1 up at the moment against Weibo, but these have been close rounds.
Double Talon shield outside here being employed by Turd on the Osa. NJR in that plant denial actually getting caught, I believe, from window reaps. Well, he confirms it with the grenade, so that makes me think that was the particular case on this instance. Trades a bit of damage to the wall, but survives. What do DarkZero now do in response? Do they look to maybe be a bit more proactive, particularly down below, try and snatch a pick? Try to prevent this push into Garage with a little bit more vigor. They're laying down damage, but not finding kills.
This is where you've got to be patient if you're Weibo. There's a lot of denial set up here by DarkZero, and that's why they brought the Tachanka, but that doesn't need to be dealt with now. Gas Babes being thrown out, Spirits running low on those. The Keeper barriers can only do so much for so long. I think that should be the final Gas Babe. There's not much else Spirits can really do. Trapped in the corner. He's also been Keeper barriered off as well by his own teammate. But he finds a kill onto Hoven. And Reaps is down as well elsewhere. The clear here from Weibo is just not effective enough. Stronghold from Spirits at Rafters. Good use of the Gas Babes. Held his position nicely. Did not panic despite the threat of the shield in his way. And leaves Turd and Arpe in a very difficult position.
Yeah, Weibo have botched that attack. Gave Spirits the window of opportunity to kill the Capitao. That was the clearance tool, and Speakeasy was on the Monty for pressure. Bit of a disconnect there. Allowed that opportunity, and the hold still in lounge. DarkZero switching on.
Well, all too comfortably in that round. DZ go 3-1 up, and it just feels like they're really getting the edge now here on Clubhouse. I mean, they're on defense. That's to be expected. Yeah, not going to lie, though, that clear Rafters, it feels like if Weibo were to do that 10 times, probably 8 times out of 10, they're going to do that the right way, the clean way. But you can't take anything away from Spirits in the way that he was able to play.
Attackers need to locate.
That was very rhymey, wasn't it? Felt like I was rapping for a second. So Spirits and JR both performing incredibly well to start. I think that's a concern if you're Weibo, though. Two top players know what it's like to win, make deep runs. Two very important rounds coming up now for Weibo to make sure that this scoreline does not balloon out. And the fact that Speakeasy Ape still on 0 kills is not ideal. It puts too much emphasis then on someone like Reaps, Halv, and Turd to get the majority of the kills. And they're playing particular roles, and Speakeasy's been playing those shield ops and Ape's hard breach, but they are capable of finding kills.
Yeah, Speakeasy's shield play hasn't been as good as I think it can be. And that's not just solely on him as an individual, but the play style of the team around it, the synchronization, hasn't been great. There's a couple of instances already where it's been quite noticeable. And credit to DarkZero, especially NJR and Spirits, have probably been two of the better on defense in denying that shield play so far.
Largely similar lineups from DarkZero so far, really leading into the Azami. And a lot of these rounds, they bring the Warden this time. Early Nitrocell thrown over towards top red from Cash. Last time it was quite chaotic in clearing out this position for Weibo. Reaps one and then two. A quick fire double, but Pampazoo was able to shut down Halford, so the Grim no longer available. Outplay fell in that exchange. But the advantage still remains for Weibo Gaming, and a lot of time, this is where they've got to maybe just slow things down.
Yeah, the catch clear has certainly been one of the strengths of Weibo here on Club thus far, and they'll do a very similar playstyle to last time. Speak easy, hands off keyboard. It's certainly not over at this point. Still formulating a plan for the final push. Double Nitro in play for DZ.
Just want to keep them guessing for as long as possible. I mean, there's well over a minute remaining in the round. The main thing is, though, play behind this shield, play with this shield, and just get too overzealous in wanting. Big Easy cannot play solo to clear out a deeper position like Bathroom or potentially towards top main. So just the one Nitrocell available. NJR throws that out. Good reposition from Nate, but coming through the doorway at the right time was Turd. Weibo find their voice once again. As you said it before, their clear of cash has been the strength on Clubhouse. And with that, they take out Gym Bedroom. They go to 2 attacking rounds here on Club, which is usually the pass mark.
Yeah. Again, they're given the closeness of this series. I would say 3-3 is probably still expectation. You can't, even with that
past stage.
Yeah, okay.
Attackers need to locate.
But not typically played, not typically seen.
Kenny Strat's under scrutiny.
Well, I mean, it's always a very fun stage to see, sight to see on stage. Mainly because if you're choosing it, you've got to have some really good strategic depth on this particular site. Like, you just don't see it that often. It's very vulnerable. You have to do quite a lot. Typically, you'll see very different styles of holds. We've seen kitchen holds where they blow open the walls, try and have that horizontal line of sight across the entire bar stage site setup. Obviously, one of the more common ones would be that vertical hold up above, defending Gym Bedroom. They bring the Valkyrie as well. Very good on this particular site. Lots of information to be gained. It's rather large in terms of the way it really opens up the map. Outside of that, not really too many other changes. Blitz will be used once again for Weibo coming into their final attacking round of the half.
So there's quite a hold above here from DZ. 3 on the second floor. It's just Pamba Lounge on the first, and Nafe as well. Also lurking below on the Valkyrie. He'll have the ability to probably route whichever side of the map the clear from the attack comes from and aid and support the rest of the defense. Hard Breach gets to work. Pretty easy going for Weibo as they look to formulate a plan in clearing out the likes of Citizen in Bedroom. And JR's been a threat playing Stash. Expect this to be an early gunfight.
F don't mind though, blocking a lot of the vision. Reaps will go down early. Citizen opening pick over towards Jam. Spirits though does get the kill onto NJR, and Hoffen follows onto Citizen. Big mistake for DarkZero. Will it have a punishing effect? To Speak Easy with the pistol hits the headshot onto Pampazoo, and they have the idea as to where Spirits is playing. Cash in towards top red. Could go CCTV. Indeed he will.
It's another example of Speak Easy, almost hands off keyboard at this point, 4v2, plenty of time.
Slow it down.
Do not throw this round. It's critically important that they convert this and give themselves some confidence heading into defense.
And they got Valcamps now as well on the attack for Weibo, courtesy of the Dockerby from Turd. We saw him just quickly flicking those in hand right now. Nitrocell for Nave. Weibo looking to find a third attacking round. And again, as you mentioned, a minute left, but they slowed things down. on their own volition. Nave will play below, Spirits will play top floor, which leaves Bar completely open. Nate obviously throws out the Nitro, but there's so many numbers, easy to shoot out. It's ineffective. The plant will be secure. It will go down successfully. Spirits does get at least a kill onto Turd, looking to probably play that lurk up above. Lost that battle and gives DarkZero an ever so slight chance. But a good flash from Speak Easy doesn't convert into a kill. Spirits runs away. 30 seconds in the post plant. At this point, you're going to have to run at the shield man. He gets the kill. That's one. Might not be aware that Hoven's inside a logistic. Hafe will go down. Certainly was not aware that Hoven was inside a logistic, and even if Spirits finds this kill, he still has to deal with Ape hiding inside a toilet. 7 seconds, no real time, needs to find this kill. Spirits does hit the shot, but it's not going to be enough to see shot. He finds 4 in the round. DarkZero find the round itself. Weibo 3-3 at the half.
Yeah, their shield play was quite mixed throughout said half. Big win con on a couple of occasions for the map clear. Also, a couple of occasions where it was probably quite costly. In the end, though, 3-3. Very good, solid half for the attack. Weibo now transition across to defense. DarkZero, Bar, was that the play? Well, who knows? Unfortunately, that hold up above was really well deconstructed by Weibo. Their map clears in general from Weibo, on most occasions, quite good. One of their strengths. And their ability to then slow down tempo. They didn't try and jam anything, which they may have done in, you know, the local leagues, for instance, where you can manhandle your opposition a little bit. They respected DZ throughout that half and were rewarded.
Weibo, of course, the best attacking team in the Asia League region with a 59% attacker win rate. The next best was actually Seoul's Heart at 52, so it's a big gulf, a big gap. Well, you want to speak about big gaps, that's the defensive win rate as well, Guz, at a whopping 64%. It is better for them on defense than it is on attack. That spells trouble now for DarkZero. They're going to have to crack this Weibo defense on their map pick of Clubhouse, and they were able to go and find 3 attacking rounds. Puts DZ on the back foot. Glaz, Habana banned out. Kaid, Mirror banned out.
Yeah, so not double hard breach from Weibo, presumably a target. Defensively, with the Kaid and the Mirror off the board, that's pretty typical. Kaid for basement, very popular, and Mirror for be it exterior denial or even interior info in this half. Basement, we go off the rip, and Turd given the scope post license for the opening round. Now, the beauty of this operator, especially on club, you can play some pretty versatile positions. Logistics above, maybe deny hatch. You can go play over a strip side, waste time. You could play a little bit more passive, blue. There's a couple of different options available.
It's and the captain as well.
He can be a difference maker. Yeah, I mean, they're going for an intriguing lineup for this opening round. Maybe just seeing if they can test the info gathering tools of DZ.
And the clearing ability of DZ. So we're going to put some Capcan traps, some EDDs, the scope pulse up above, and essentially the idea of the scope pulse is essentially you've got to go and clear that. Otherwise, it's that transfer potential. That transfer potential then means flank potential. So if you don't deal with the scope pulse up above, it can become a big, big threat later in the round when you're looking to execute down below. But then you add in the EDDs, and it's an extra element for Weibo on the defense with the Capcans. And you're also pretty well defended from your other 3 operators. The Azami, the Smoke, the Warden, really good, of course, as well. Late round when an execute does eventuate. The DarkZero are going to go for this top floor clear as soon as possible. Pambazu already inside of construction. Spirits outside on the balcony. Deep inside of logistics, but Turd's not active on that particular shell. He's in Arsenal right now, watching the camera inside of logistics. I have a feeling this is going to be a really quick and easy clear for DarkZero, though. By opening up this side of the logistics wall, you're not only going to get the free kill, but you're also not going to be able to die to those EDDs. So the plan for Weibo has not worked out. But as you said, it was really kind of a test, and DarkZero passed the test.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Turd didn't elect to play it more actively, but sensing that the trade time was probably not worth it in terms of risk. Throwing Bar from Spirits, or at least the follow-up from Spirits. Pamba holding the blue. Extension but strip side unaccounted for. Even I didn't notice it. Speak Easy on the opposing side of the map.
Popped up main.
DZ off guard just as much as us.
And you got that opening kill now with a minute 20 on the clock. You can fall back, play sight. You don't have to really now be aggressive again. You've already been aggressive, found success. DarkZero still need to go through their checklist, open up the floor ports, put pressure from down below, open up the hatches. They've got a lot that they need to do. This is the perfect start to the second half for Weibo. They must convert from this advantage. DarkZero's got a lot of catch-up to do in this round. They're going to have to pick up the pace really quickly.
And with the Nomad dead and player down, Weibo may be able to find a pocket of space to go for that regress later on in the round as well. So this is a pretty precarious position for DZ. They'll take their time, find information, but they are playing from the back foot.
They've got good clear-out utility, though, with the Grim and the Capital. First B is going to be used. Finds Holvin's position. Turd in a gunfight. He got his one. Traded. Keeps the advantage for Weibo. One close left for NJR. Fully aware of that, but he knows he can't just run through. Gas Babe thrown out by Reaps as well. Hiding inside of Arsenal. Speakeasy wins his battle against Citizen. Albite taken down low. Does not matter. NJR has to just push the smoke with the Bailey, but there was that cross. There was that teammate watching that doorway. Leaves Nave by himself and certainly with no chance. It's Weibo that's going to go 4 to 3 up. Well, the trash talk begins as well. Keep baiting. That was direct to Nave. I will say for Weibo, when they trash talk, they don't always do it when they're losing. Once they start winning, the trash talk begins, even if they're not in the most commanding position, like it's only 4-3. As long as they're winning, it's almost like their own rule. If you're winning by any amount, it doesn't matter if it's convincing. We can trash talk, but if we're losing, we can't.
Yeah. I think it's respectable. That last round, well played. They tested DZ on the roam, and we thought a lot of that was going to be centralized around the Scopos. That was the easy part. Speakeasy, in the meantime, he was lurking strip side the entire time, and DZ not checking a pre-place or not having a pre-place or just
focus on the Scopos.
Exactly. Drew their attention elsewhere, and Speakeasy got a freebie. You get yourself into 5v4 at that point of the round, it leaves so much more work for the attack. It's very difficult on that site to then trade, to find space. We saw Weibo still well. They established the crossfires with the advantage that they had, and in doing so, give themselves the lead. Gym Bedroom, round number 8.
And it's at this point, 8th round, first map of this elimination game. When things can get a little tense, this is when you can lock up a bit and start to feel the pressure. DarkZero on attack. If things not really going their way, you could crumble really quickly. They must stay locked in. Spirits, by the way, now double digits, 10 kills, incredibly influential. But NJR, he had 6 kills, it feels like, after 2 rounds. He's gone a little quiet.
Yeah, did really well on that anchor roll on defense, but maybe now on attack, just being tested a little bit more. Hard breach for this round, the only primary for DZ on the board. Jacuzzi will be key, already used over towards Kennels. Jacuzzi may also just be left to its entirety. We'll certainly wait and see. Citizen goes hunting, finds Turd.
Big pick. Drone is ready to go. BA Nitrocell not available now from the Valkyrie. Obviously, Turd can do his job to the fullest degree in terms of watching those Velt cams for his team. But a big opening pick for DZ. Now they have the numbers to pressure out this cash position without as much of a threat. Secondary EMP onto the mute jammer. They look to open up that wall. Herod still holding towards this balcony position. Flash thrown in. Is there going to be a jump out from Holvin? No, but it was from Ape. Want to follow as well from Reaps, but they lose him on the jump back in. Wasn't able to make it. Citizen watching. Good numbers being used for DarkZero. Now in a 4v2. Holvin holds the close angle and does find a free kill. Citizen. There's one on the roof though. Holvin will get the intel. He'll fall back. Need to see Speakeasy on this clash go off, and he does with the SMG on the Pambazoo.
And he's kept the shield in play. He can now reposition that over towards the objective. He elected not to put it down, instead on his back, and that gives him more versatility in the late round.
The biggest difference, though, 2 versus 4, what we saw from Weibo in the first half. They consolidated, they chilled out a little bit, and then they moved in. DarkZero still had players like Citizen slow vaulting towards that CC window. Big pick from Speakeasy. The power of the clash on display. Picks it back up, moves back, and has all the intel on Nave's position, going for the guard break, but certainly at some point, Hoven should make his move to help out this clash, but Nave cannot even get the kill! The clash was dancing on thin ice, but the ice did not crack. Weibo go 5-3 up against DarkZero.
And Reaps, very eager to remind them, and I saw him shouting it across, 4v2, 4v2.
It was a 4v2, and the difference, as I mentioned before, is
Weibo weren't throwing those
were
rounds.
not throwing those in the first half.
Yep.
Tactical timeout for DarkZero here on Clubhouse. Things starting to slip away from them. It is now 4 rounds consecutively won in a row for Weibo. That's right, it was 3-1 to DZ.
I saw the body language from Kangaroo just kind of waving his arms across himself, probably just telling the boys, you got to clear that from your mind, don't worry about it, reset the scoreline.
I think one thing that Kenny does really well is he can calm you down and he can hype you up.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of a really, really good coach. And right now he's kind of have to probably calm the boys down. But Weibo with the momentum. Bit of an arm wrestle to begin throughout, let's say, the first 5-6 rounds. But it feels like now Weibo 4 rounds in a row, they've got the momentum. They're winning rounds either convincingly, now in that last round, winning from playing behind in the 2v4.
Well, they win double. I would classify them as double primary sites. Maybe you classify Gym Bedroom as a close secondary. This is more so the tertiary now in the modern meta. Lose this 5-4, Weibo still then can return to the primary side of basement, and a match point looks quite good for them, at least a minimum OT.
Well, that's the benefit of getting the 3 attacking rounds.
Yeah. Win this though, Weibo, and they are in the box seat to win this opening map, which would set themselves up very, very well in the series. Still a little bit skeptical in terms of Lair, given the lack of play time in Asia,
is a good map for them.
Yeah.
And it's also just a breathing room, right? Like, you win this map and it's like, okay, we know full well we're here for another 2 hours. Whereas DZ are playing every round on Lair as if it could be their last. The DarkZero, have they got a response though? Can they bring it back now off the back of the tactical timeout, make it 5-4, try and then return serve and get into the heads of Weibo, bring some energy back for DZ?
The Scopos in play this round, and Turd playing at Rafters. Second shot presumably would be safely on site, and maybe he'll use that to exit the shell when the utility gets dumped. Capital is in play. So too the Monty. Talking point during the ban phase, we thought that maybe we would see it banned out for the second, and not the case. Weibo confident that they can counter one of the better shield players in the world.
My only concern here for the Scopos is there's not really a lot of defense for the Scopos. Like, typically if you have an Azami there, you've got the keeper barriers. If you've got ADSs from a Jaeger, for instance, you've got ways to be able to really lock down and hold that position. And while then Turd transfers out, keeps himself alive, guess what? Now DarkZero have got full Rafters control really early in the round. So I'm not totally sold on this setup from Weibo, and it certainly gives a really good avenue for DarkZero. Breach opened up as well.
And good flames onto said breach to prevent Speakeasy from bandit tricking that. So the problem solving from DZ and the way they've played around their composition so far has been really, really strong. In fact, you can see how vacated that site really is currently.
Don't forget as well, once Scopos loses that shell and the transferability, it doesn't really bring a whole lot in terms of utility. It's just gone up. Spirits has been really, really good for DZ. 11-5, but now playing the Monty role. There's Gaspape.
I think DZ, the biggest threat now is probably Vert denial, so that's something that I need to be mindful of. Especially if they position and poke and prod for default, which seems to be the case. Citizen down below in blue to counteract that Vert play.
Here's the big emphasis though. If Spirits goes down, look at the way that everyone else is set up. They're essentially set up for the post plant. Navigates over towards the breach, bit of damage from that Nitro.
Looking to clear Citizen blue. Hoven
got
pushes
the
up
kill
as well,
onto
default.
Nave though, and he does take site control, but it's a 2v3 now in favor of DarkZero, still with the Monty up, and a big headshot onto NJR, and Spirits will go down as well. Surely not again for DZ in back-to-back rounds where they've got man advantage, but cannot then capitalize. 20 seconds for Pambazu to think his way through this, where he needs to go and get that kit and somehow make this his moment in a 2v1. The two stand together, and they will not fall, and Weibo will get map point.
DarkZero will be disappointed with that round. I think that was a really good showcase, though, of the modern defense meta in Siege that's really been exemplified over the last 6 to 12 months. Where in days gone by, teams would focus all their effort on denying that plant, denying space, and playing safely on site. We saw that regress down below, the contest onto Citizen, the Hoven push into side as well. Brazen. You would never see that in years gone by. But Weibo, with that confidence flowing, their shots landing, able to execute that hyper-aggressive play style in a way that was controlled and measured and well synced, well timed. Everybody was on the same agenda. And DarkZero not able to stand up to the pressure, now facing 3 map points.
Well, best of threes are a marathon, not a sprint. DZ will be aware of that, being in plenty. Been a solid team effort, though, from Weibo, and their big three are firing. Speakeasy, Reaps, and Hoven. But NJR, he was like 6-0 to start. He's now 6-7. Spirits has been great. Nave pretty much irrelevant, quiet, not noticed. Citizen trying at times, but it really feels like a disjointed DarkZero, especially now on these attacks. They've not won a single attacking round. Hard to now suddenly envision you go and win 3 in a row. That previous round was the one you had to win to kickstart things. Now there's no room for error here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, the only advantage that they may have is they've seen these sites before, and maybe Weibo employs similar setups and they can counter. That being said, it's not like Kangaroo's been able to take the tack after that last round and then prep them for the second wave.
Scopulse again, but it hasn't really been all that influential.
No.
A little stall tactic for basement. Probably wasn't great at all in the previous round, to be honest, and that gave DZ a really good positional advantage for Cash and CCTV.
Yeah, Weibo not looking to overstay their welcome too much here on the roam. Playing hatch open setup though, and still actually a couple of players lurking above.
Don't you love it when you're an up, you're 1-8, you're just getting carried to a win.
Well, he has a pretty key role at the moment over towards stock. He'll be looking to catch drones and information and then fall down.
Oh, NJR catches out Hoven and then gets rid of Turd as well. Weibo wanted to bring a bit more pace, aggression on the defense, and it backfires well and truly. And while DZ has thrown a 2v4 and a 2v3, surely they can't throw a 5v3 and add that one to the repertoire. They must convert here.
Yeah, Weibo got limit tested that round. Big time. NJR is not going to make a meal of that. Well, if there's any moment for Arpe to step up, it's this round. He needs to find a couple of kills to aid Weibo if they are to recover. Reaps still up above and Kitch.
Can drop the hatch though if he feels the pressure is too much and gets himself out of the kitchen. Still over a minute left, so this is good for DarkZero though. They're able to just slow things down themselves. Use this man advantage. Overwhelm the remaining defenders, take this site, get yourself an attacking round, and who knows what could then happen. Only 2 more needed after this to force overtime. 2 versus 5 now. Well, there's one for Arpe. Picks a decent time to find his second kill, but low on health, leaves Reaps in a really difficult position towards Arsenal. Has a bit of red ping information. Citizen with the kit now inside a church, and they're going for that church plant. Arpe did get one onto Spirits. They trade each other 1v3, but Reaps, as he makes his way in towards church, is shut down. Too many numbers still to deal with, and DarkZero stay alive here on Clubhouse and in church.
Still 2 more opportunities though for Weibo to close this in reg. site choice will more than likely be bedroom, and that's confirmed. Better from DarkZero, but also Weibo were a little bit ridiculous in their aggression in that particular round, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's like a really good double kill from NJR. You probably questioned, did Weibo need to play in that manner? DarkZero will take a freebie, though, and that's probably what you don't want to do if you're Weibo. You don't want to give them a way back in. 2 rounds in a row for DarkZero, not totally out of the calculation. Certainly a possibility. All the trash talking from Weibo when they hit match point at 6-3 could come back towards them if this goes overtime. You don't need to feel that Kangaroo Candy fire. By the way, Speakeasy half health already in prep phase.
Yeah, not quite entirely sure how that's happened. Must have been the pipe or something.
APAC things. It's not ideal because it limits the aggressive nature of what Clash can bring now since the rework. Might have to play a little bit more defensive in style. Especially if the Clash wants to be kind of in the face for this horizontal defense towards CCTV and Cash. Now you're at half health, actually even maybe slightly below half health. It's not ideal for Speakeasy and for Weibo. DarkZero don't know it, but they're already kind of leading this round a little bit.
NJR then looking to progress over towards Cash. And that will now dealt with. Speakeasy to hold the front line with the Clash as mentioned. HP already taken a hit. And so he'll have to be perhaps just a little bit more cautious here. Doesn't want to get caught in the open. A shot or two to the foot may well be enough now at this point. Elects to fall back through Logi and peels to that position that we saw prior. He can place the shield down and hold that cross, make it difficult for DarkZero to cross through Con towards the objective. It looks like they're shaping up for a similar hit. Should be anticipating something similar with the Clash already more than likely identified.
Repulsion device planted.
Spirits with the air jab to prevent the Clash from pushing forward. That will keep Speakeasy at least in bay over towards that Logi position. And he finds the first on site. Hoven caught.
Keep firing and you might just find success. Hoven shut down by the rapid fire of Spirits. Another keeper barrier broken, but this time it goes the other way. Trade quick though from Naif. So slight advantage still for DarkZero, winning the entry battle. Clash over towards logistics. Now an emphasis on Turd and Ape to find some kills, being quiet, the both of them so far on Clubhouse. And it feels like for DarkZero now with 30 seconds left, will they just look to go for a hit? What a swing from Turd though. Nath not probably anticipating a window swing at this point. Turd though in a dangerous position, getting tagged up, lit up, double push through this doorway. As NJR finds that kill, he will get another Pemba, follow suit, and with that DZ are putting the pressure now back on Weibo.
Yeah, mechanically, these clears have been really sharp from DarkZero. They're finding pretty small windows to find a lot of these picks. You think about the Spirits entry and then the Reaps trade, etc. But they're landing. Weibo respond with their tactical timeout. Again, noting DarkZero have already used theirs, but final round of regulation on the other side of this one. Weibo and Meepy sensing that this is an opportunity to really hone in on what their strategy will be for this final round, what site they elect to go to, what operators they wish to bring, and how they're going to deal with the DarkZero that are rallying.
It's such a stressful moment if you're Weibo. You 6-3 up, you start trash talking, you start making hand signals, and you think there's enough of a buffer. They're not going to win 3 in a row, 3 attacks in a row. Well, they're knocking on that front door right now. One more needed for DarkZero to force overtime, and if they can force overtime, that mental for Weibo is going to be tested to an almighty level. They would have felt it right now, right this second. They should be preparing for Lair. not to be. At 6-5 now, DarkZero need one more attacking round. Searching for their third in a row from a 6-3 deficit to now force overtime in this opening map of what is an elimination game and qualification game. Win, you're in the playoffs. Lose, your time is done. You'll be on a plane pretty early tomorrow morning.
Bomb located by attackers.
So interestingly enough, it's the full rotate in terms of site selection. Cache CCTV in play. We'll see Turd on the Azami for this particular round. He'll be locking down Garage. We saw the Scopos previously. It had essentially zero impact. The shield clear from Spirits. Spirits will repick onto said shield for this round, but expect a little bit more resistance in that position. Weibo as well, previously banning out the Capital, takes away that crowd control tool for this site. It does make it slightly more defendable, especially that Rafters position. If they have difficulties clearing Turd, then it's very challenging to envision DarkZero being able to go for a similar hit to last time. They'll probably have to rotate or think about some other clearance method.
Systematically, though, it's a bit more default from Weibo. And that might not be too much of a hindrance then for DarkZero, because they should very much be more prepared for something like this. And certainly so. Last time with the Scopos attempt, it was really easy. Spirits is going to go down early on the Montang.
I think he got caught by the keeper barrier. I think Turd has locked him in. They've combined it with the gas canister. That is really impressive.
That's a rookie error, though. That's been done and seen before. That's something that Spirits should be aware of.
Reloading.
So an opening kill is always nice. It's lovely. You want it 5v4, but you get rid of Spirits, and he's playing Montang. Feels like they're having their cake and eating it too. So DZ now on the ropes, 4v5, 5 to 6. Spirits has done as much as he possibly can so far on this map. It's now time for others to lend a hand.
Speak easy, teasing the breach. Aggro, Clash Shield down. Constricting DarkZero, locked over towards Garage. How do they fight their way back into this round? Minute 30.
Drone active.
Hoven's position is known. Yellow ping in play. One frag grenade available.
Big pick from Nave. Hoven felt the pressure on that left side, so he tucked a bit more to the right. Nave's then ready. Good teamwork.
About to be cleared by the frag grenade anyway, so he would have died. Good clear. Not much you can do there.
Want to deal with that barbed wire, Nave. It can be a little bit prickly. So 60 seconds left. Final round of regulation here for the opening map. A crouching clash in your way on one side. NJR now banks the flash off the wall. Maybe to force that clash back over towards Cash. Still stays deep inside of CCTV though. And there's a BPC over on that back wall. Double stack now over towards the breach, and Turd will find the kill onto Nafe, limiting the threat coming out of Rafters. Nafe also had the kit.
Yeah, diffuser on an island. DarkZero will pivot to collect it, still thinking it's a win con in this round. Not in a position to flood for kills.
Not in a position to really do much else but to get those kills, because you've only got the 20 seconds left, and Reaps has got the close angle now when you go for that kit, but he makes the cross because Reaps ended up losing his life. Citizen will confirm the kill. 3v3 with 12 seconds to go. Now you can plant behind the server rack. There is no Nitrocell coming your way, but Citizen gets off of it temporarily. Pamper holding for that cross. Push in towards Rafters, but they push and they clear, and with Pamper not in position, indeed that is it, guys! That is it! Map down, Weibo, 1-0 up here.
Up and about the Weibo boys. They'll be proud with that result. It got dicey towards the end. DarkZero fighting. It was a nail biter in the end, but a reg win sets Weibo up so nicely in this series.
A close, contested map. We said on the desk in the pre-show that we expected this to be a series back and forth in nature. Close, difficult to split. Well, 7-5 on the opening map really does show what we were talking about. Ultimately, Weibo were the better team to kind of close towards regulation, but DarkZero were the better team to start. They had that 3-1 lead, and then Weibo just went and won 4 in a row, set themselves up beautifully. Technically ended up winning 5 in a row.
Yeah, it was very intriguing. I think the first half, a lot of it was centered around Weibo and their shield play. When it was successful in gaining map control, they showed really great discipline in slowing down tempo and then converting advantage. On the flip side for DarkZero, they had a couple of those advantage-esque situations to begin, but failed in slowing down tempo, controlling rounds, and being able to convert. Then they switched on as they re-attempted those sites, but ultimately in the end, Weibo in a very, very close final round of regulation, just able to have the firepower in play to win some really important duels and prevent DarkZero from getting that plant down.
NJR started incredibly hot. Spirits had a very good game. The other three, hit and miss, let's just say, throughout the course of that opening map. As for Weibo, though, Reaps, while he wasn't at his 20 kill kind of best average, I thought Hoven was really, really good. Speakeasy actually, by the way, started really, really slow, but boy, did he get better as the match went on. Turd had his moments here or there, so did Ape. This moment right here, Naif going for the kill onto Speakeasy, not being able to convert, really felt like the momentum at that point had gone fully in favor of Weibo, and then they consolidated to a 6-3 match point advantage. Ultimately, yeah, DZ then came back, forced it to 6-5. But Weibo hold strong on Clubhouse. They take a 1-0 lead here in what could be DZ's final day.
Lately, I feel I can't find my feet. Pushing closer, my heart skips a beat, and now I'm falling. Deeper than a fly, I can't control it. Dark against the sky, it's not so black and white. It's like I told him. There's things that I can't fight. I just keep going. I just keep going. In my time, I've been dreaming of a space to really find my place. I wish she'd seen what I had dreamed.
This land is calling.
Welcome back to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh for Rainbow Six Siege X. It is the lower bracket semi-final matchup between Weibo Gaming and DarkZero. Weibo take the opening map on Clubhouse 7-5, so 1-0 up in the series. Don't fear not too much just yet if you're a DZ fan. They did lose the opening map in the grand final of NAL, bounced back very quickly then on that second map, winning 7-2 over SSG. Third map's irrelevant if you're a DZ fan in terms of what happened there. But yeah, there's still hope obviously for DarkZero. Kangaroo Kenny had a couple of minutes with the boys back behind the stage. I'm sure they'll be looking to bounce back on their map pick now on Lair.
Yeah, the first map really ebbed and flowed. There were a couple of key moments as well that shifted momentum both ways. And it almost felt like that entire map, to a degree higher than most matches, they were really trying to get a feel for one another. DarkZero tried their best in taming the aggression from Weibo in a similar fashion like they did against a successful win with FaZe earlier on in the tournament, but didn't quite find that same level of ability to shut down Weibo until the very end. But unfortunately, it was a case of too little too late, with Weibo able to just narrowly win the final round of regulation. They're pumped up, ready to go, feeling confident inside of the server. Lair's going to be an intriguing one though, much larger map, and a lot more fluid in terms of how it can potentially play out.
Well, Weibo did play it in the playoffs for Asia League. They beat Souls hard on it in the upper bracket semi-final. That was a 7-3, 3-3 split in the first half where they were on attack and then closed it out, clean sweep on their own defensive Lair. So it's not as if Weibo's going to be unfamiliar with Lair, but as I mentioned in the pre-show desk, Lair is just not a map that we'd see in the APAC region. Like, it barely got played. In terms of Asia, right? So the Asia sub-region of APL, guess how many times it got played?
One.
And it was Weibo Gaming. So at the very least, if there's any APAC, especially Asia team, that may be prepared for this, indeed it would be Weibo. But I think whenever you're picking a map like Lair and where it is in the map pool, it's certainly one of the maps that, despite being the newest, it's not favored. It's not played a lot. Teams don't necessarily like going there. And it's also kind of a strange map because it's quite large, but it's very much top floor and basement centric. Like, we're talking about like Master R6 gets played over and over again as much as possible, and then basement as well. And it's kind of cycling between those two maps unless the tertiary is needed. Defending can be difficult at times. Big open map, a lot of space for attackers, and that can be a strength for Weibo. But DZ pick it for a reason. DZ then now need to show up. Otherwise, they're flying home tomorrow.
It's interesting watching the dynamic between the two teams. Meepy very much just lurking around and chatting to each of the players individually or as a whole, whereas on the opposing side, Kangaroo, who's getting the hurry up now from the admins, solely focusing in on Spirits, explaining exactly what they want to execute here on Lair. It's a tight turnaround between maps. We were talking about it before, only about 5 minutes or so.
We went to sit down and then you were like, better go check how long we got. It was like a minute 20. We're like, whoa, hang on.
An opportunity to maybe quickly go to the toilet, but you come back and you want to talk strats for this opening map and what you want to do against your opposition based on what you've seen prior.
Yeah, and I guess in some ways it can be good or bad depending on the view that you have. Like, I think for both teams, especially like if you're Weibo, you won that first map, you probably don't want to now go back and cool off. You probably want to go into that second map as quick as possible. And on the flip side for DarkZero, while they obviously want to prep and Kenny's trying to give some last second instructions, you also want to bounce back as quick as possible. You want to get into this second map. But right now, DarkZero facing elimination. Lose this, you're out of the Esports World Cup. And it would mean playoffs for Weibo would be confirmed. You said, as your hot, and I said scorching take, you think they could potentially win it all. And they would need favorable bracket. I know you got asterisks attached all across it, but they keep playing it their best.
Hey, they asked for a hot take. I think it's a hot take that's somewhat in the realm of possibility.
I didn't even get, I don't know if we're supposed to, were we spreading out the hot takes?
Well, what was yours?
Well, I said, I think Virtus.pro is going to make the grand final.
Okay.
We know Virtus.pro in the past, right? They're always the...
That's a basic take. That's not a hot take.
But they're usually the kind of team that makes like a semi-final. But to make the grand final, can VP do that? They had a really, really good day yesterday. And they actually had a little bit of a correlation here. They did beat DarkZero 7-1. They absolutely dominated them. So, yeah, I don't think it's that too hot. it's probably more of a lukewarm take.
Lukewarm take. All right, let's jump into Lair then. Map number 2 of this best of 3. Ying, Glaz, Azami, Clash are your bans for this opening half.
Well, the Clash ban is in relation to probably not just the map itself, right? Where obviously Clash is very strong in Lair, but Speakeasy was really, really good on Clash back on Clubhouse. So it's a twofold ban. That's an easy one. The Azami was also incredibly overplayed. Again, also very strong on this map. So very strong bans coming out from DarkZero. On the flip side, Glaz can be really, really strong, especially top floor, and the Ying as well for those entry executes. So pretty much staple bans, nothing really surprising from either of the two teams. Weibo start defense. So DarkZero get to try and kick things off on Lair, find that form, find that momentum, and maybe find their voice. After the very first round, Kangaroo Candy was incredibly loud, but he got told to quiet down by the referee. I think he needs to forego what the referee said and find that voice once again, but to find that, they need rounds.
Attacking into Lair can be really rough at times as well. So important that they capitalize upon any opportunities that present.
A lot easier to attack into Lair, though, without that Clash on the board.
Yeah, through the late round, I would suppose so. Probably limits the need for vertical as well on some of these sites, including the Clash from below, for instance, and they can also focus on their horizontal clears. Does bring the mirror into play, though, as a bit of an exchange out. And Arpe will have those mirrors in position that make the map entry typically more challenging.
No, we had Citizen, by the way, as the player spotlight in the pre-match desk for good reason. He was the second highest player in NAL for stage 1, plus 49 KD, decent on the entries as well, a 117 EPS. It's NJR, though, and Spirits who have actually been probably the best performing of DarkZero at this tournament so far. So can they get a bit more out of Citizen? Can they get that second best player in NAL out of Citizen here on this map? Find more out of him.
So midpoint of the round, and it's slow going as DarkZero fight for Northern control. Speakeasy playing contact, 2 gas babes available, now just 1. Deathmark forced back, but Hoven in support and able to find 2. Traded but delayed. NJR 1 shot, and it's very much a great start to the round for Weibo.
I feel like I jinxed Citizen that he's the first death. No. Well, NJR also very low, like you mentioned, means that DarkZero find themselves in a tricky position now. This is a very difficult site to hit at times, and especially if you lose the players early on that they have, now it's so much more difficult to funnel players through these doorway positions. Into storage goes Citizen, Spirits. Kit in hand as well on the Blackbeard. So Nafe will activate on the Deimos, the Death Mark onto Turd, but he has got a mute jammer on his location. So he's not affected by that Death Mark. Nafe will cancel. Under 40 seconds left here, 4v3, essentially like 4 versus 2.5. This is going to be very difficult for DarkZero to win this round. Not the way they wanted to start on their map pick. No gas babes left, but there is a Nitro on Reaps. You got the Shamika launcher as well for Turd, and a Nitro on Arpe. Weibo are well set up here for the defense.
Should not be able to get clean entry. Nitro in pocket now, out, kill, 10 seconds, and it's Weibo's round to lose.
Right, at that point, you just got to send it through the doorway and hope for the best. That's the Blackbeard in Spirits that went on through. Staying behind in storage is Nafe. Well, it did find 1 kill. It's not going to have any effect. Turd calls him a loser. Right now, DarkZero are losing. They lost the first map. They lose the opening round of the second. Weibo, full of voice, vigor, and confidence. Really strong defense to begin, and it all started with the opening 2 kills. Hoven set the tone early.
Yeah, really good stall out util from Weibo on the smoke, followed up with Hoven hitting clean shots. He's had a couple of those key moments, probably 2 or 3 rounds so far in this series where he's really stepped up. He's a player that can sometimes play in the shadows a little bit more so and not get the spotlight all too often, but it's rounds like that where his experience really shines. I don't know what his numbers may have been for the particular stage, looking across 107 EPS. So again, not crazy amazing, but still top 10 in a respectable region.
Yeah, absolutely. Turd pretty much equal with him as well on 107. Again, that's what makes this team so strong. Yeah, Reaps has the extraordinary numbers, but Hoven, Turd, and Speakeasy are really not far behind and certainly bring a lot of valuable experience to this team, to this roster. And Hoven really, in this particular series as well, has probably played even higher than what you would usually get, because typically Reaps is the one soaking up all the kills.
Interestingly, Weibo will persist with the Chank pick into round 2. It offered that secondary stall out in the prior round in combination with the smoke, which will also see reappearance here for the second round. You combo that with the info from the Maestro, and it does mean that DarkZero, in terms of time management, have to be really, really careful and mindful of that in this particular round. If they get stalled out, if they maybe lose a player advantage whilst doing so, it amplifies the difficulty of the late round in a similar fashion to what we saw prior. So it's important they get this control, get the ramp to work, and then are in a position to pressure that denial and clear out those Maestro cameras.
That's big.
Yeah, there's a smoke off the board.
It's Hoven off the board as well. He brought the aggression in the previous round. Now in this very round, it comes through from Spirits on the Blackbeard. So that's better from DarkZero. That's the way that they're going to need to play, because they need to bring aggression to Weibo. They're going to run towards them, not fear them.
Critically as well, he was able to avoid the trade attempt from Speakeasy. It just fell short from the stairs position. That opens up control now for DZ. Ram can get to work. Reaps is, though, lurking first floor. Now, I don't know if he's directly in a position where he'll be able to pressure, just poking a couple of shots lobby, but Pamba's in a position safe enough to avoid that pressure.
And how's Weibo going to go now? Down a player, big map. Obviously, DarkZero have a pretty big advantage to be able to take a lot of this map control. So you're going to just fall back. You feel more confident probably than playing basement. But then you're just pretty much playing into the hands of DZ. You're just giving them all that space. So what they've got is Reaps over towards security, yellow stairs. He's still offering something at least towards one of those entry positions, the stairwell towards basement. But he now too will fall back. They're just going to play time. Just over a minute left. Put some trust in the Maestro cams, the Shamika launcher as well to be able to deny over towards blue stairs. As you can see, Spirits is probably saying, boys, I can't push just yet. So we're getting delayed here by the Tachanka.
Reaps falls, NJR catches that good flank watch. And with now under a minute to go, Weibo are under pressure. But Speakeasy withstands it. Turd is still alive, and Maestro may be able to feed them information. DarkZero, they cannot take this round for granted.
They can't lose this round. You can't lose another 5v3. We saw a couple of those back on Clubhouse. NJR, low, vulnerable. Speakeasy shuts down Nafe, though. So 3v3, where the lower player is on DarkZero. 2 very important kills back here for Weibo. Deep in lab, double stack. In stock is Ape. The Nitro was thrown, but down goes Speakeasy. Now puts it onto Turd and Ape to salvage this round for Weibo. NJR finishes off Speakeasy. He was down, now out. With 15 seconds, makes his way in towards lab. Trying to plant this diffuser. Nothing really to stop him until the bullets themselves. He got up, started running. Now into deep red time. Pamba, Citizen, you need to go find these kills. You've got to start moving, not a lot. Now Ape to hold strong, and the question mark as well. What was that from DarkZero? They just froze towards the end of that round.
Wow. So they didn't commit to the plant there. The Shamika launcher, you could hear it come through. That plant position would not have been safe. DarkZero had to quickly pivot, but didn't have the time or the read, I don't think, to do so. It was very limited, small window. They had to quickly adjust. I think they still had Pamba lurking up above on Vert, if I caught it correctly. It was just an awkward position. They were set for the plant to be successful.
That was their win con.
And when the flames come out and that player's low and can't stick, what's the backup plan there? Unfortunately, there really wasn't one.
That was a 5v3.
And that's what, maybe the third-ish round at this point, where it's been similar to that?
I think they threw 2 4v2s and then maybe 1 5v3 back in Clubhouse.
Wall reinforced.
It's not a way that you want to kind of start things off here on Lair.
And that's exactly the kind of rounds that rile up.
It does, it does. And you can see it immediately with the question marks in the chat, wondering what are you guys doing? There's still 7 seconds left. It's a 2v1. Go find that one on defense, kill him, win round. But they just look so disorganized towards the end. Like, once they had lost those 2 players, it became a 3v3. You could just see DarkZero just didn't really have confidence in what they wanted to do. NJR had kit, but he was low, so he knew he was vulnerable. Shamika launcher at his location. Got to get up, got to run, but guess what? Then you're taken down, no time left. It all goes back to the way the round itself was being set up. And they've been abusing this Blackbeard, by the way. And we're into round 3. So if they don't find a round win here with this Blackbeard, it's probably not going to be available going into the second portion of this opening half. And as more and more rounds are stacked up for Weibo, that's more and more pressure stacked up on DarkZero, knowing they're facing elimination now.
The Brava in play for round 3 will be an important tool in dealing with the Fenrir F-Not mines and the Jaeger catch as well. Twitch also in response to the mirror. So hard counterplay from DZ. And aggression on the fringe once more from Weibo, but it's cut down. Wow, it's 4 in the space of a second or 2 and shots onto the body. Turd left in a 1v5 and DarkZero will, I mean, geez, respond in a flash. Flawless from DZ and a nothing round from Weibo.
I didn't even get to, I was ordering dinner.
I know, I saw. You left me with the play-by-play, you left me stranded.
I was literally...
There were 3 kills in the space of a second, a 4th a second later, and the 5th, well, Turd got absolutely destroyed by the BB.
And to be fair as well, like, where did that come from? Because we haven't really seen a lot of that at all from DarkZero across the series now. Clubhouse now into Lair as well. That pace, that kind of aggression hasn't really been
Well, it wasn't
notable.
honestly their aggression. It was Weibo who just went over the line. Like, there was a line in the sand that I think they were encroaching upon, and they just absolutely went over it.
Interesting ban. So it's not often you're going to see a Tachanka ban.
No.
But in, obviously, contrast to what we've been seeing from Weibo and its usage, they elect to get rid of it. Deimos, though, which means the Blackbeard stays up. So clearly that's Weibo saying, we think we can deal with the Blackbeard. And maybe that makes DarkZero play a lot around that Blackbeard, and we kind of want them to do that. We just want to remove a bit of pressure that the Deimos can bring with its death marks.
Attackers have located a bomb.
We return to the top floor. The pulse in play for this round being hidden by Weibo. And so maybe that's the reasoning behind, at least to some extent, the Deimos ban. It will facilitate Turd to be able to lurk down below with a little less pressure and won't have to necessarily 1v1 against the Deimos. Opens up then the opportunity for him to feed which side of the map push is coming from specifically. And then Nitro Cell as well for Plant Null, in addition to the other 2 in play for this Weibo defense. Bandit as well available, used on the exterior walls. And will make that hard breach just a little bit more challenging for DZ. They do have the ace employed. Turd finds the first kill. And I think I heard a couple of laughs from here.
And I was just about to say as well for DarkZero, you win that round in the fashion that you did it. Flawless, really quick. You know, it's almost over before it really begins. Literally couldn't even finish my order. How do you then build momentum off that? You've got to go and get a second and a third, etc. You've got to build some form now. It's a long, long series, but you've never really had a whole heap of momentum. And immediately then in the round after, opening kill, no Knave, no Sends. You're bringing a Sends for the ROUs for a reason to execute or to help facilitate entry positions. It's got purpose.
Oh, so
it's no longer there.
Not even a spawn kill. It was the lurk below that Turd was able to deny. So DarkZero looking for that early, I suppose, cheap map control, but was caught. I thought it was just a straight up spawn peek, but not the case. Very interesting and frustrating for DZ.
One thing Weibo, and I kind of don't want to say this because I feel like I'm going to jinx it, but they haven't really thrown a lot of rounds. Not in comparison to DarkZero. DarkZero have been far more problematic in that department.
Not as prone to the throw, no.
But at times it can be their specialty back home. So just over a minute, 4th round, 2nd map of this series. Weibo searching for what would be a top 8 finish here at EWC. Spirits falls, that's the Blackbeard. Another big piece off the board for DZ. Another question mark from Speakeasy.
Good bandit trick as well from Hoven.
The trash talking for Weibo starting to increase as they start to edge closer to knocking out DarkZero. Pampazu steps up, big pick.
And Turd but still below and could potentially flank. So very much keep that in mind towards the late round.
He's quite a distance away, though, from the 3-man stack of DarkZero over towards the hallway of R6.
Well, he's getting no information, which is good information. They'll know DarkZero are stacked in this position.
They don't have the Blackbeard to play behind. 2 Adrenal Surges available for Citizen, along with a frag grenade. Only 3 drones, so lack of information as well for DarkZero. Frag thrown in. Deep run down from Citizen, in through R6. Thought about pistol for a second. Got to hit those shots, though. He does eventually get the down onto Speakeasy, but took some time in being able to do it. Lost a teammate in the process and his own life, and now a 2v1. With 12 seconds left, Pampers has got a lot to do.
And Turd down below feeding information, but despite that, RP dies, but in response to the Nitro, Turd commits below, and it pays off.
Not a lot in terms of the reaction either from Turd. He lets his own work inside of the server do the talking. And Turd says, what are you doing in the basement with Sens? He's referencing Nave at the beginning of the round. I don't know the answer, though.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
We would have to...
We'd have to ask him in the interview.
A 3-1 lead. Weibo 4 rounds away from knocking out the grand finalists of the North America League. Tensions rising. Pressure mounting. What can DarkZero do to respond? Because quite frankly now, outside of the opening 4 rounds of Clubhouse where they led 3-1, ever since that point in time, it's been all Weibo. There's been no momentum found for DZ. No real form. And no real sign of life. DZ need to stand up right now. They are looking to exit EWC with a bit of a whimper. They need to show some fight right now.
Attack Lair certainly can be tough, so don't take too much away from Weibo as I say this. We could very much see DarkZero get away with a 2-round half, but it is these kind of big, obvious moments that continue to occur for DarkZero that we can spotlight and highlight and say that this is the direct reason why they lost this particular round. It's not small mistakes at the moment for DZ, it's these large ones that are compounding, unfortunately, for them currently, and Weibo are capitalizing, they are minimizing mistakes themselves.
Looking at some of the global statistics for Lair across R6 over the last month or so. 60% defensive win rate, top floor, 53% basement. Even the tertiary bunks briefing at around 57%. So as you're kind of pointing out, defense does usually do well here on Lair. And that's where you probably got to remind yourself, if you are DarkZero, that it's like, okay, boys, we just maybe got to get one more here. Just find the second attacking round. We can then bunker down on defense. Spirits on the blitz, going for the full flash, but it's a turnaround. Nitrocell from Speakeasy, and the blitz will fall. So another opening kill for Weibo. Albeita then double down. They lose the ram. DarkZero crumbling on their attacks of Lair. A flash to clear the stairwell position, but they've already vacated. The damage has already been done.
DarkZero, even when in an advantage, haven't always looked confident in closing out rounds. Now with a 2-man disadvantage into a Lair basement, you all but write them off from this position unless one of these players can step up. Fortunately for DZ, it is some of their more hard-hitting players still up, particularly NJR and even Citizen at his best, at least locally in NA. But they need to be able to isolate picks, and Weibo aren't the kind of team in this current form that are going to give away much for free. They'll anchor down, they'll chill out. They have the utility to still play around. DZ forced to trade out towards a default plant position.
There haven't been too many rounds in this series that DarkZero has been able to overcome a deficit such as this. They need to do so now, 5th round. Otherwise, they could be staring down the barrel of a 4-1 deficit. NJR, Nave, Citizen, and most importantly, NJR and Citizen are still alive. 2 of the top-rated players for DarkZero. But with no Spirits and no Blitz, and only 40 seconds, as Ape knows full well, 2 players over towards this exterior. Easy swing with the shotgun. He had all the intel, he had all of the noise being made. And while he went prone, Nath then finds the kill onto Ape, but more work to be done. A headshot angle may be found for NJR. Up close at Speakeasy on the Panther that went for that door swing, but NJR knows he's running out of teammates by himself now with Nath on the floor. There's nothing that NJR can do. Weibo are 3 rounds away from top 8 and playoffs at the Esports World Cup.
And a 4-2 recoverable, a 5-1 very difficult. So for DarkZero, this is
the most important round of the tournament so far.
Critically important round. But the exciting and entertaining thing for us is it takes place on the tertiary. First floor bunks can be tough, real tough to defend. We've seen some interesting ideas recently.
They're not going to defend it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some interesting ideas recently with the sense employed and the execute utility, smokes, capital, etc. on this site in an attempt to ignore the vert clear. So I don't know if DarkZero will opt for that. In fact, looking at their lineup, potentially they'll look to clear it. And as you were kind of alluding to, the lineup from Weibo and the setup they've got ultra aggressive, a little bit of trap on the board as well. 2 Real Reaps can chill and play objective if required and stall out the site util. They're going to take it head on. So
Vigil, Oryx, Mozzie. You don't have to play the site.
This round will more than likely be decided off the objective. I'd be quite surprised if we get to a plant, and if that does occur, it will be with few players alive.
And if it does occur, another factor of that could be just a full site rush from DarkZero if they don't want to play into that roam game employed by Weibo. Lair's a big map. Utilize it.
But they don't really have the util for it, right? Like, you need a sense or a cap or... Sure, Dockerby to an extent, but...
The other thing as well is so far Weibo have been pretty good. You think back to the round gone prior as well, where Turd was able to get that kill onto Nave and exploiting DarkZero's lack of awareness entering the building. If they're not prepared for this Vigil, this Oryx, or this Mozzie, but they're not also prepared for a Nitro from Reaps. Citizen goes down early, and that's big. No gridlock, no stingers, more access as well for these roaming defenders.
They still have the Nomad up, but double flank watch was certainly part of their plan, as is clearing vert.
First logic bomb used as well prior to the 2-minute mark, so have to wait a while for that second one. Pampazoo off of his own logic bomb follows up with the kill onto the Mozzie of Arpe. Roaming through Armory now is Spirits on the Blackbeard, taking some space here for the attack of DarkZero.
Reaps under a ton of pressure over towards lobby. We're catching the tail end of it with Pampa chasing, but DarkZero don't quite catch him.
He gets out with his life intact, can fall back, play over towards security. So you can see on this overhead though, Turd still tucked in towards bunks. They might not be aware of his position and could go for a swing coming out of the site itself if he so chooses. Intriguing to see the Oryx and the Vigil have now very much fallen back towards the site. It's Hover that still plays above though. 2 players for DarkZero on their way to meet Hoven in towards Master.
So pivot from DZ now looking to investigate above. They have a semblance of control.
Hoven can just look to try and maybe fall back, rotate to the other side of the site, rather than fully take the fight and then go for a late flank to deny the vert hold for DZ. But he doesn't. He holds towards Ops. He may be ready, but it's a Blackbeard coming around the corner. Goes for the guard break. Player behind. Oh, no! Hoven hit the headshot! Hoven's insane! How do you mess that up? A double stack clear on the Legion goes horribly wrong for DarkZero. Just as this map is currently right now, the pain is being felt for the North Americans. Nafe is all by himself in a 1 versus 4, and indeed he may be shaking at the thought of going home, because it's about to be 1-5 in favor of Weibo Gaming, and it's time to sit, talk, and figure out what to do.
10 seconds to go.
They're all waving across, and Kangaroo gives them the thumbs up in return. 5-1 Weibo.
2 rounds away.
It's easy for us to say as the APL casters, but I mean, man, I did not see them losing it from here. I'd be shocked.
Well, I mean, it's also easy for us to say a lot of the negative stuff that we can see from Weibo at times, but right now, so far at this tournament, they're bringing their best, and that's what we've been kind of alluding to.
Been that trajectory, right?
Exactly. Their pathway up. It hasn't just been an overnight thing. They started the stage quite poor, not at their best, but with so much potential. This feels like a team that's starting to reach that potential. And DarkZero are feeling the wrath of that. To think you start this tournament, by the way, with a 7-3 win over FaZe Clan, to then lose 7-1 to VP, to then get knocked out by Weibo. It's such a DZ thing to do.
Well, Weibo are going to win the event, Jake, so...
Yeah, you go out to the eventual event winners. It's not so bad. We will add now DarkZero go defense. They can get a couple of rounds on the board, and that can certainly bring them back.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
They kind of started to do it on Clubhouse. Don't forget, it was 6-3 in favor of Weibo, and then DZ started to make it close again.
Yeah. I think part of that, though, is the rotation and being able to see sites twice. It was also on attack, so a little bit of a different dynamic, but they should have the attack depth to be able to beat Weibo from here. It's execution based from this point onwards, and unfortunately, as we've kind of seen a handful of times, even just exclusively on Lair, execution has not been, unfortunately for them, one of their biggest strengths. Let's prep ourselves then. It's top floor in play. And this is going to be a very frustrating lineup for Weibo to deal with. The aerial denial from the Chanka. You have both the mirror and the clash in play. Typically on Lair, you'll see at least one of those banned out, but Weibo instead an emphasis in terms of the wall denial. Mirror used now in response on exterior. Well, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how Weibo then look to play around that. It is just the thermite in play. They'll have options available. R6 room is, I think, most likely. Most optimal outcome, at least from this point onwards. We'll see how they adapt based on what happens during the round, though.
It's a big call, though, as you're kind of mentioning, leaving the clash up, leaving the mirror up. And those bans are permanent for this map. You don't really get a second go of it.
I mean, you can then take one out in a couple of rounds' time, right?
Can take one,
at that point, damage could already be done in terms of momentum.
And, of course, then one also stays up regardless. So 5-1 up, all the momentum for Weibo. The only thing that has kind of stalled out that momentum is just a break between switching halves. Think back, first map of Clubhouse, it was 3-1 up for DarkZero, and then 5 rounds straight for Weibo, ultimately won at 7-5, and here on Lair, it's just only been Weibo on the defense, but as we've been alluding to, defense globally on this map does do better statistically than attack. DarkZero now get their opportunity. But it doesn't do 5-1 better for the most part. Weibo need now 1 round to at least secure OT. And don't forget, with that opening map, they've already got Chalet in the back pocket if it does need to be played. DarkZero must win from a 5-1 deficit on the second map and then go through Chalet. It's a long way back from where they currently stand.
Midpoint of the round, ops control still being contested here by Weibo. Speakeasy playing the frontline shield. Naif, counter shield, clash. Forced back though. Wall opened up, and Weibo can now hold this line. It's a critical line for DZ to hold, especially for denying the A site plant. Naif with shield down can opt to play with mild aggression, but doesn't want to forfeit his life. Wants to try and soak up some crowd control. And there it is, the flash forcing him back. Minute now on the clock, but it's NJR on site on that Azami to find the first.
I do think really quickly Weibo are going to figure out attacking this top floor is not going to be easy. Especially with the clash up, the mirror up. This first go around should go the way of DarkZero. They find the opening pick. They deal with Reaps. No more Roteros available. Time starting to run out. And always what happens with Master and R6 is that funnel towards the end of the round, and it's far too easy then for the defenders to just clean up those attackers as they're running through these choke points, these doorways. There's not enough opened up. A lot of double stacking, a lot of double pushing, and Citizen with a long angle headshot for Outbay's death, and then the close angle onto Hoven, and this is exactly what DarkZero need to kickstart their defense. Clean, comfortable, no mistakes, no errors, and maybe even flawless to kickstart the second half and kickstart a potential comeback for the North Americans. That's the way to do it. It's only 1 round, but it kickstarts their journey on the way back into this series.
Yeah, again, top floor with Clash and Mirror up is going to be incredibly difficult to attack. It's hard to hard breach with the Mirror up, and then it's difficult to deal with plant denial with the Clash up. Weibo didn't play it too bad. Probably wanted a little bit more value from the Nook below. That didn't have too much of an impact. They also gave away essentially an untraded pick at the beginning as well. Over to bunks though for round 8. Okay. Let's see if Kangaroo's cooking with the strats.
Yeah, I mean,
tertiary side up next. I mean,
again, statistically though, it's not. It's statistically actually better defensively than basement.
Yeah. Okay.
In terms of the global numbers. And as you said, you're probably going to have to play it anyway. So you win this, you then go basement, and then after that, we get the bans that come out and you go back top floor.
You have to. I think for DZ, absolutely Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter given the context of the score anyway, but you have to maximize these bans at the moment and make the most of them.
Mirror clash once again. So 3 Nitro cells available for DarkZero as well on the defense this round. 5-2, it looks daunting. It's a long way back, and it was 5-1, but 1 round at a time mentality now needs to be employed for DarkZero. Only way to shut this Weibo team up is to find rounds. Otherwise, they will keep talking that trash. Not often you see Arpe leading his team in terms of KDA.
He's pretty quiet on map 1.
He was very quiet on map 1, and he's statistically the lowest rated player on the team. Usually playing hard breach and support roles.
Probably just got enabled a little bit more on defense to be more aggressive when they had advantage, I suppose. Oven with a lurk. Oh! Almost able to get a cheeky kill. That would have been a big opener onto NJR and would have taken one of those 3 nitros off the board. Unable, though, to find that particular kill.
Very important for NJR to stay alive. He's also the only one in bunks at the moment. Well, it's a hot and brazen attack here from Weibo in the way that they've gone about it early on. Arpe runs right into NJR. Taken even lower, but he finds a second kill, this time onto Speakeasy. So from almost being eliminated to then at least having impact with the 2 kills, traded eventually by Hoven.
Sight's clear, but the vert in play makes a plant essentially
3 players above.
Impossible. Do Weibo try and jam it? Try to win gunfights against the vert denial?
The clash is above though.
I didn't back it.
Reap's taken low, trying his luck. 60 seconds left in the 8th round. DarkZero, slight advantage. Peek through the hallway, gave Reaps an opportunity, but he could not land that shot. Turd though, I think Reaps is trying to just keep them away, and the site has now become vulnerable,
Spirits?
and Turd can get this plant down. Reaps was just basically saying, come over here and look at me.
But can Weibo hold on in the post? DarkZero should be able to flood.
Oh, big headshot. And a drop as well from Spirits.
No.
It will be a failure. And now a 2v2 with Nath on the clash, stuck next to Reaps. Pambazu must kill and clear out Turd. If he does so, it becomes very winnable.
Turd still has a scan as well online. That may be used as well.
Has the red ping intel, the drop, the chance, the shot now, and a 1v2 for Turd to make his moment here at the Esports World Cup. He has a chance. It's a slim one now, though, with so low health, but just needs to deny in terms of time.
Wow.
And Turd will do just that! Weibo are 1 round away from knocking out the North American Grand Finalists.
Is that another round that we can add on to the long list of rounds that should have been theirs? I think so.
Should have, could have, would have is probably where this series has now gone for DarkZero. A series of almost. But a series in which Weibo now find the ultimate lead at 6-2. 4 match and series point opportunities awaits them. The playoffs await them. For the team that is well and truly the best out of APAC, and there are no disputes to that anymore.
Fearex have had that title well and truly stripped. Once they win this event, oh.
The real question is
one of the best in the
Fearex
world.
even second?
I don't know. EP played pretty well.
Hey, there's a stage 2 major qualifier land that might determine a couple more of those rankings later on. But at this point, for DarkZero, you now have to go and win 4 rounds consecutively. They've not done that at all this series. On the verge of elimination. After beating FaZe Clan on the opening day yesterday, 7-3, it's been nothing but loss after loss after loss since that moment. Imagine telling a DarkZero fan, by the way, you're going to beat FaZe on the first day. 7-3, it's great. Then you're going to lose to VP and Weibo, and you're out.
And Weibo 2-0.
And Weibo 2-0. And VP 7-1.
Yeah.
Have they got it in them for DarkZero? Are they a team that's got fortitude and resilience to bring this back? To show a backbone staring down the barrel of the defeat, awaiting them. Do they wave the white flag or do they try and push through?
Naif almost able to pluck an early kill. As Weibo begin their map clear elsewhere. Still largely on the exterior, but Speakeasy falls first. Pamba.
Big from
able to find
Pamba.
two.
He's got 8 kills now when showing that he's not done and ready to leave this tournament, but caught on the cross back by Uppe.
And that's an opportunity now.
Surely this can't be another round that DarkZero lose from a winning advantage.
Another 5v3.
It would be absolutely asinine.
Reloading.
It would be the story of this series. May as well start calling them dark throws at that point if they lose this round.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
The pivot from Reaps. Maybe he looks to be the backstab lurk potential in this round. The other two will spearhead warehouse side. I think that's probably the best play. Having 3 from the exact position might be a little bit risque. They do have the ram as well for Hoven, and he situates first floor, maybe able to establish some vert. So they still have decent tools.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Why is Naif even challenging that on an entry position with a minute left? Fall back.
I think there was a Goyo. There's a Goyo canister there as well for stall.
Yeah. Even Spirits right now. They just look a little bit fumbly. Nervous. Not quite sure of themselves. 40 seconds. Fall back. Play. This Goyo canister. There you go. Now Reaps is stuck here for a decent amount of time. Limits the potential for Uppe and Hoven to then make moves. 30 seconds, and then our time becomes a factor. Come on, DZ, it's the basics here. Play the time. It's now on your side. Must convert this round, literally.
Drone Reeves has information. Can he be the difference maker? Uppe elsewhere, opposing side diffuser in hand.
Up close,
No
shotgun.
way.
Reaps with the entry. Now they have the advantage. Still time a factor in all of this, though. And Reaps goes absolutely nuts. And with that, Weibo knock out the North Americans. They do it in an incredible